Hi, thank you for joining me in this episode of GradSWE UCLA presents Women in Science, We Have the Power to Change the World. My name is Yifan Gao, a PhD candidate from Civil and Environmental Engineering Department at UCLA. I'm also the International Student Event Officer at GradSWE UCLA. GradSWE stands for the Graduate Student Community of Society of Women Engineers. Our goal is to provide support to graduate students and help them shine in their future career. We are going to host a series of interviews to female scientists, and we hope we can encourage more women to join the community of STEM. Our guest today is Professor Hee Jeung Oh. She's assistant professor from Chemical Engineering and Material Science Engineering Department at Pennsylvania State University. Her research areas include design, synthesis, processing, and characterization of multifunctional polymer-related materials for energy-efficient separation, energy storage, and biomedical devices to address challenges in water, energy, and health domains. Hi, Professor Oh. Thank you so much for being my guest in this channel.
Hi, Yifan. Very nice meeting you. Thank you very much for a kind invitation. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And would you mind briefly introduce yourself and your lab to the audience?
Sure. Yeah, sure. I prepared a few slides if you're
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So my name is Hee Jeung Oh. I'm an assistant professor in chemical engineering and material science and engineering at Penn State University. My lab works on molecule level engineering of polymer membranes for environment, energy, and health. So I work on polymer membranes for separation, and there are many different mixture of molecules for different applications. So we do tune the chemistry and morphology of our polymer membranes to transport our target molecules. Because of different applications involve different molecules, we often modify the interaction between our polymer and then target molecule, or create a diffusional pathways for our target molecule. And this is our two design principle for our polymer membranes. And there are many applications involving transport of small molecules in membranes in area of environment and energy and health. For environment, this is showing desalination plant. Water purification is a large-scale process to provide clean water to people, and gas separation and packaging and barrier materials that we use daily lives are from using membrane. And also critical element recovery and environmental purification, these are also gaining more interested. For energy application, developing a polymer solid electrolyte is critical to achieve high energy density for batteries and fuel cells for electric vehicles. So polymer membrane is also critical in energy application. For health, hemodialysis is very well-known technology, and delivering drug to target location or capturing unwanted toxins in the body, or even medical isotope purification are involving polymer membranes. So these are very large, broad area, but we focus on same principle to understand and design membranes for these applications. So why polymer membranes? Because we need clean water, we need clean environment and clean energy, and we need to solve health problems of our times. So we don't have enough clean water to supply many areas around the world. And as you can see from this graph is showing water stress area around the world. And as countries are more developed, we need more water to provide energy and then a clean environment. So out of many different purification and separation technologies, membrane-based technology is very efficient in terms of the space they occupy for separation. And unlike distillation or evaporation, which require very expensive, energy-intensive phase change, membrane process provide efficient separation without such expensive steps. And also, based on the size and shape of the molecules that we like to separate, we can design a library of different polymer membranes, starting from reverse osmosis membrane used for water desalination, or nanofiltration membranes for ion separation, or ultrafiltration membranes or microfiltration membranes. So these are the library of materials that we use for different separations. So I was trained in water purification and using membranes for water purification. And we can use this same principle to remove toxic chemotherapy drugs in the body, which is relatively a new platform and new biomedical separation. So the reason for this research is that people live longer and longer. That means in the developed nations, cancer is becoming a leading cause of death. And there has been a great effort to develop personalized and targeted chemotherapy drugs, but still many toxicity of drugs there's no way we can avoid them. And the current state of our method is shown here, is that we directly inject the drug to the target tumor, to directly inject the drug, but still more than 90% of drug, regardless of injected amount, is not trapped by the organ, goes to the heart, pumped through the body and cause toxicity. And this is most severe with liver cancer because liver is only a few inches away from heart. So as a classical chemical engineers and membrane scientists, we develop a new class of biosponge device to trap and then capture this toxic chemotherapy drug downstream of the tumor. And we inject the drug upstream of the tumor so that we can prevent any of drug spread through the body. So this work is inspired by absorption column that we use in industry. So using this method, what we do is we inject sheath to administer our device. And then upstream of the tumor, we inject the catheter to directly inject the drug. Downstream of the tumor, we deploy our device in a hepatic vein draining from the liver. And drug is administered and tumor is saturated with drug. And any drug that's not trapped by the organ will be trapped by this device. And at the end of the one session, which typically takes about 15 to 20 minutes, we remove everything from the body. So this is the one of area that we work on. The one critical area for this development is that we need to make a very well-designed high surface area device that can be used in the blood vessel. And we designed this complex lattice structure with large surface area. This is not processable by conventional polymer processing. So we combine our membrane understanding with 3D printing to design this new device that can be customized for individual patients. So to summarize, our work is we design and we synthesize and we process a new structure, and we understand how polymer membrane can be used to address grand challenges in environment and energy and health. So it looks like a very broad range, but however, we are very much focused on the fundamental problems. That is, we study the relationship between polymer chemistry, processing, structure, and transport properties for separation science. Specifically, we study the impact of polymer chemical and physical structure on transport properties, such as sorption, diffusion, and permeation and conduction of small molecules, especially ions and water in polymers. So these are the research projects we're doing in the lab, such as understanding polymer membranes for water and sustainability. And also, just like I mentioned, we design 3D printed biosponge polymers to remove unwanted toxins. And we are also focusing on using these membranes for critical elements such as lithium recovery from unconventional brines. So our lab, we have graduate student and undergraduate student at Penn State. We enjoy doing hikings, and then we work hard in the lab. We give presentations in national meetings and local chapters, and we also participate in many outreach activities here and outside of Penn State. So that's pretty much everything about my lab. Just to introduce myself, I came from Korea. I did my bachelor's degree in Korea, and I came for a graduate school in the US. I did my PhD at UT Austin, focusing on water purification membranes. Other than work, I enjoy watching football, and then barbecue is a hot thing in Austin, Texas. And also, I continue my research at postdoc at UC Berkeley using polymers for biomedical and also energy applications. So other than work at Berkeley, I enjoy running and outdoor activities. So you can find more information about lab. We're looking for graduate students and postdocs who are interested in this research. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much. It's a really great presentation. I think your lab is really diverse and has a lot of outdoor activities. That's really cool for a research lab. Yeah, I think, yeah, lab building up and also the research. So I'm really interested because personally, I'm an environmental engineer. So I'm not studying membranes, but I have collaborators that are studying membranes, water separation and designing the membranes. So I'm really curious, like how you connected membrane in the environmental, like water purification to cancer therapy treatment. I think it's a really broad leap for your PhD and postdoc. Like back in the time, why did you make that choice?
That's right. So it's a combination of my personal preference and also coming from my background in chemical engineering. So I think, so when I did my PhD, I mainly focusing on preparing polymer membranes for water purification and desalination. And we focus on fundamental understanding of ion transport and liquid transport in polymer membranes. And then that fundamental studies can be applied in different areas, even though it looks like very far away from environmental application. Because in health application, there's great need to deliver and separate molecules in the body. And in the body, just like seawater desalination, there are multiple ionic species in the blood. So there is a competitive multi-component transport. And also, same principle can be useful for separating our target molecules. So that was, so in terms of fundamental principle, we use the same principle. Use same knowledge about polymer design and processing, but solve for different end application.
Got it. So the principle, the fundamental knowledge behind different projects are the same or connected together.
That's right. Yes.
Wow. Because I feel like talking to environmental engineers, you need one language, and talking to biomedical researchers, that will be another language. How did you manage that? Like talking to like communicate with them, like about cancer. Yeah.
That's right. So definitely, like you said, the language and the terminology, many things are different. So there are learning period to understand what their problem is, and then understand how I can provide the knowledge that I have to solve their problems. But after the tuning process, they have their specific problems to solve, and we have chemistry and polymer skill set to solve and address that issue. So I think there are many great opportunities for interdisciplinary research.
Okay. So that's why in your lab, you connected environment, energy, and health through polymers. Like for your lab, how did you do that? What are you doing in the lab with your students, like to connect these three fields together?
Yeah, so our toolbox is the same. We work on polymer membranes, and we're interested in charged polymers, ionomers, and we're interested in structured polymers. And we synthesize these polymers, and then we simplify our end application problem to connect to our fundamental knowledge.
Okay.
And then we try and start with a simple model system.
Okay.
Using representative molecules that are needed for transport or separation. And then we focus on how different polymer chemistry and then resultant structure and transport properties are connected. And then we try to make industry relevant and also real life application relevant device so that we can really test them in real life application.
Wow. So in your lab, students need to have basic knowledge for polymer chemistry and then like how to design synthesized polymers. And then you will try to connect the designed polymer with the real industrial problem, like cancer, drug delivery, environmental health, environmental and energy storage. So that's the basic. Wow, that's super cool, because I feel like if the basic skill set, the toolbox is the same, we can do a lot of cool research, like target different fields. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. So yeah, I guess is that also your principle as a system professor, like trying to target more and make your research broader and more diverse? So I know, like, what's your advice for example, rising scholars that want to be assistant professor and they are thinking about their future research directions?
So I'm in my 4th year as assistant professor. Overall, my advice is never give up. Keep swimming, and then try to be positive about the outcome.
Yeah.
So those are my general approach with the problem.
Yeah.
And also, I think there are always more problems as lab grows and there are more students join the lab. So I would say sleep well and then eat well, and then you will have more energy to deal with more problems tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that's my general philosophy and my advice.
It's really different, I think, from being a PhD student or postdoc. You're like a startup. You're running a startup company, being the provider for the funding. It's totally different mindset, I guess. Yeah. So we have to prepare for that. Okay. So yeah. So so this platform is building up on the GradSWE graduate student community of female and women engineers, and we're at UCLA chapter. And I'm gonna ask you following questions for our organization and for like female female engineers and scientists. So as a female scientist, what challenges have you met in the way that you are making, like you make those big decisions in your life? For example, studying abroad, choosing all of these research directions.
I see. So I think the biggest challenge or biggest decision that I made so far is to set my career path, that I want to be a professor, I want to be a good scholar, and I want to be in academia for long time.
Okay.
And, you know, when I made that decision, it was quite simple.
Yeah.
And also it was little easy to make. For me, you know, when I choose my research direction, when I listen to my PhD advisors talk about what he's doing, it was very straightforward. And then it's about dealing with very important problem that was clean water.
Yeah.
And we want to design membranes to solve clean water problem. So they really touched my core, and I wanted to, you know, focus on important problems, and then this knowledge can be helpful for solving different problems. So it was easy to make the decision. And then for me, the difficult part is the execution part.
Okay.
So that, you know,
Yeah.
doing good research, working hard, making my decision worthwhile.
Yeah.
That was my difficult part. But making decision was quite simple.
Easy. Yeah,
easy.
but like how to execute it.
That's
So
right.
yeah. So do you ever have you met like challenges as a female scientist when you were executing all of your decisions?
So I think there are many challenges, especially in the stage of early 30s or late 20s, when students graduate, they try to find a job, and they're also planning their long-term family plan.
Yeah.
Where there are many hurdles and the challenges for those you know, female scientists.
Yeah.
I was a little bit different because I was only taking care of only myself, and then I made decision just based on my own self.
Okay.
So in that regard, I'll be a little careful about what to mention about those my colleague female scientists. So my experience in general is that, you know, there was always doubt about whether this is going to work, or, you know, am I going to be a good scientist in one day? Am I going to find a job that I'm looking for? There are many self-doubt about my path. But I found there are many female students who experience this self-doubtness. So
imposter syndrome.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think you defined it very well. Yeah, imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So I think that was the main challenge that I experienced. And then I think it wasn't solved at one point. It was more like years of effort.
Yeah.
Prove that it's worth to try. And then also my research is really meaningful. It took me many years to see the result.
Yeah, to find the path and then overcome the insecurity. It's not insecurity. I think it's the confidence, like in our core, in our mind. I think it needs a lot of time to do that.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So do you have any role models in your career? Like,
I do have many role models. I have combination of different people and in different discipline, different area. And I even have role models that I had never met, but I only read their books. My biggest role model is my mom. She's an educator, and then she's also a working mom. So she always emphasized me that, you know, try to be independent, work hard, think hard, and most importantly, never give up. So those are the key message that I learned from my mom, and then I say same thing to my students as well.
Yeah, that good education from the family is definitely really important for the growth as a scientist. So my mom always my mom is also a working mom, so she's working as like a educator, as a professor. So she's always telling me to be independent. I think even probably as a teenager, I was like, but at some point I understand that and actually are doing that. So I think it's really meaningful.
Yeah.
So it's our last question. So do you have any advice that you would like to give to women that are thinking about or currently pursuing the STEM majors?
Mm. Yes, we need more women
Yeah,
in STEM. And I see many talented student, female student who consider STEM field. I always encourage them to try and then, try undergraduate research. If you're in high school, try research opportunities in nearby universities so that they could get exposed and then they learn if this is for them. If not, great, then they move to different chapter, and then if they like it, and then they continue pursue that direction.
Yes.
I think STEM field really about creating future.
Yeah.
So you have a very powerful tool to create future and then really solve important problems by science and engineering. Yeah. And we definitely need more women.
Yes, I think all women should believe in themselves. Right now, there's like a stereotype that I experienced. Is like a personal story. When I was talking to another person about, I just met a professor who is in academia, a National Academy of Science, and he automatically said, he is doing. It's like, stereotype that they never thought about is a she. It's actually a female professor, a female scientist. So I think like women should break those stereotypes for like STEM major. They think, STEM major, if you're National Academy of Science, you should be a male scientist. But actually, it's a really great female scientist. Yeah. So
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time and as my guest. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for a great opportunity to talk to you.
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed the conversation, and I look forward to follow your channel.
Yes, thank you so much. And also to our audience, if you're interested in Professor Oh's lab, definitely contact her. The contact message I'm going to attach to the YouTube channel. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for joining me for today's episode of Women in Science. We have the power to change the world. Please hit the subscribe button and follow us to hear more stories from female scientists.